What's up, Otakus? I'm back, and I've made some improvements to the comic book readers, so hopefully it's easier to follow along. I know sometimes I had to pause in between the reading and kind of make images bigger, and I was listening to it, uh, my previous videos, and it is kind of distracting to have to pause and also, obviously the images of the comic book aren't as visible. So I've made some improvements. I think I'm using a different reader now, and hopefully this session goes a lot better than my previous iterations. But again, we're going to try to make this as enjoyable moving forward. We're only two books in. This is my third book. I'm having so much fun with this. I'm sure at some point it'll start becoming like a chore. Like, yeah, I won't want to read comic books out loud and stuff. But for the time being, I am having a good time with it, and so we'll just keep it going for as long as we can. Um, yeah, I took some I took some pain medications, so hopefully we can get through this relatively issue free. I'm um, feeling comfortable right now, so it should be good. All right. Well, let's get into what today's book is. Today's book is Superboy 10. And let me just share it here with you. So, Superboy 10 is a notable issue because, first off, Superman's popularity is probably at the height right here during the late 40s, early 50s. Superman is a cultural phenomenon. I mean, by this point, he's had his own movies. He will get his own like reoccurring movie television series. But he's also had the animation series from the 30s. At this point, he's had a radio show, and of course, he went from Sunday strips to comic books, and so by this time, this period, he's at the height of his popularity. So because of that, DC Comics went out of their way to essentially insert him into as many, Superman into as many different titles. And so you had Action Comics, you had Superman, and then they introduced kind of family members such as Lois Lane, Superboy, his adventures growing up, which for this demographic, again, Superman's appealing to the, you know, um, young reader demographic. And so it's important, I think, to have Superboy as someone identifiable with this age group that's obviously among the most ardent fans of Superboy, or Superman, I should say. So yeah, this is issue 10, and this is the first appearance of a very important character. And so we're going to get into reading here. And as you can see, the cover's here, Superboy. And we'll get right in here. Superboy, the adventures of Superman when he was a boy. Superboy, you're my ideal. You're so different from that timid Clark Kent. One of Superman's biggest headaches today is Lois Lane, the girl reporter who always gets in his way, threatening to find out and reveal his secret identity as Clark Kent. But don't think that as a youth, Superboy didn't have the same problem. Yes, this little lass with a fatal curiosity is as pretty as Lois Lane, is as inquisitive as Lois Lane, as harassing as Lois Lane, and even has the same initials as Lois Lane. She's Lana Lang, young Clark's next door neighbor, who manages to get in the Boy of Steel's hair wherever he turns, and whom you will get to know as the girl in Superboy's life. One morning, as young Clark Kent, who is secretly Superboy, helps his foster mother with some house cleaning. There, Mom, I'll hold up the piano so you can sweep under it. Thank you, Clark, dear. I don't know what I'd do without you. Suddenly, clang, clang, fire engines. If there's a fire, Superboy may be needed. Of course, Clark. You go ahead and do what you can to help. But as Clark dashes out, look, Clark, the Smallville Museum is on fire. Let's go see. Oop, it's Lana Lang, the girl who moved next door. How can I switch to Superboy with her around? I'll have to make an excuse. I'm afraid of fires. They're, dangerous. Well, if you're so timid, stay behind, Clark. I'm going anyhow, and I'm sure Superboy will be there. I'm sure he will too, just as soon as I can become Superboy. Shedding his outer garments, Clark instantly becomes Superboy and speeds over to the flaming little museum. The roof's about to cave in. We can't save anything in there. Gosh, all of Smallville's records and relics will be burned to cinders unless. I've got an idea. Immediately, the Boy of Steel whizzes to a nearby junkyard and. But Superboy, how can you put out the fire with that old steel sheeting? Simple. First, I'll bend it into a cone, then weld the edges by super pressure of my hands. Seconds later, the giant cone will work like an enlarged candle snuffer. It'll put out the fire by smothering it, just as a snuffer puts out a candle. And so when the fire is completely extinguished, as mayor of Smallville, I thank you, Superboy, for saving our museum relics. Only a few archives were damaged. Ah, my ideal Superboy. Later, wait, Superboy, I want your autograph. Sorry, Lana, I have to hurry. Her being with Clark Kent at a time of emergency almost ruined everything. I'm glad that can't happen again. Can't it? You have a shock coming, Superboy, for that evening when the Kents receive a visit from their new neighbors, the Langs. You should have seen Superboy at that fire. He's no timid soul. Mr. Kent, I've come to ask you a great favor. As you know, I'm an explorer. My wife and I must go to Africa to collect some rare animals. Could Lana live here with you until we return? Why, certainly, Mr. Lang. We're glad to have her. Who's glad to have her? Not I. With Lana around, I'll have to be on guard every moment of the day, or she'll learn I'm Superboy. Thank you, Mr. Kent. I know I'll enjoy living with you. The Langs depart that night, and the next morning Lana's presence already threatens exposure of Superboy's secret. Clark, you have to start for school in 2 minutes. Will you saw 5 cords of wood for me before you leave? Mother absent-mindedly forgot that Lana mustn't know of my superpowers. Now she'll surely suspect. Hastening to the woodshed, Clark rigs several saws together at super speed. Must trick Lana somehow. Then, at the same super speed, there, I've sawed all the wood necessary, and not a second too soon. I hear Lana coming. That means she must suspect. And when Lana enters the woodshed, why, Clark, you sawed all that wood in 2 minutes? That's impossible. Only Superboy could do that. Oh, not at all, Lana. See, that gang saw? It works like several saws at once by electric power. But as they start for school, you know, Clark, I can't help wondering how you were able to chop that wood so quickly, even with a gang saw. That reminds me, I wonder who Superboy really is. Oh, he's probably one of the school's athletic stars. Gosh, she's growing more and more suspicious. Just then, why is this crowd gathered here? Oh, Clark, look at that sign on the billboard. I set fire to the Smallville Museum, and I'll destroy Smallville's public buildings in revenge for being sent to prison. The man who hates Smallville. It was put up during the night, so the museum fire was no accident. And in a short while, a heated protest develops. Look here, Mr. Mayor, if our public buildings are destroyed, it'll hurt all my real estate projects. I demand you do something about this sign at once. Yes, sir, Mr. Keener. Just be patient. We're doing all we can. We'll question all ex-convicts in Smallville. One of them must be the guilty man. Later, 5 ex-convicts are questioned, but only one of them, John Garris, cannot prove an alibi. But I tell you, Chief, I live alone and I was sleeping when the fire happened. That's what you say, Garris, and since we have no direct evidence, we can't arrest you yet, but we will eventually. And John Garris soon finds himself a marked man as the news spreads rapidly through Smallville. He's the one who did it, John Garris. I don't believe Mr. Garris did it. He has an honest face. Excuse me, Lana, I have an errand. To keep an eye on those threatened buildings as Superboy. Minutes later, as the Boy of Steel scans the city, all the public buildings are well guarded now, no sign of any more sabotage. But wait, something's wrong at City Hall. Telescopic vision instantly detects a looming disaster. Why has the foundation wall been secretly weakened and the river is washing it away? City Hall is already starting to topple over. As the massive structure starts to crumble, look out, City Hall is falling over. Whew, just in time. Hurry, bring some heavy girders to bolster this building. I'll hold it up till you get them in place. Soon. Thanks again, Superboy. That foundation wall must have been deliberately weakened by the man who hates Smallville. And that man is John Garris, I'm sure of it. That's right, Garris. You could have weakened that wall last night. No, I didn't. Of course he did. Why don't you arrest him? But one person still has faith in John Garris's innocence. I don't believe you committed those crimes, Mr. Garris. It's no use, Miss Lana. Because I served time, everyone thinks I'm guilty. Guess I'll go for a walk in the woods where people won't stare at me. Superboy, I'm sure he's innocent, and we've got to prove it. Listen, Lana, this business is too dangerous for a girl. You must keep out of it. Leave it to the police. Ew, oh, is that so? Well, if you won't help me, maybe Clark Kent will, if you get what I mean. She's still out to uncover my identity. I'd better hurry home to greet her as Clark when she arrives. Later in the Kent home. No, Lana, it's too dangerous to mix into that sabotage business. I'm keeping out of it, and I advise you to do the same. Wait, here comes your father. He'll tell you I'm right. Oh no, that's not Dad. It's the mailman. Yeah, what am I saying? Aha, you couldn't possibly see through that solid door unless you had X-ray vision. That was a careless slip, Superboy. But quickly, Clark talks his way out of a neat trap. Don't be silly, Lana. I saw his reflection in the polished surface of that car out there, you see? Oh, of course. I'm not sure. Well, even if nobody else will help, I'm going to try to find the real saboteur and clear Mr. Garris. We'll talk about it later. Right now, there's a thunderstorm coming up. I'll have to go out and lock the woodshed. And when Clark reaches the shed, that storm is just what I need. It'll give me a chance to check on other public buildings without Lana tagging along. A while later at the Smallville courthouse, we've kept everybody out, Superboy. This building is safe from sabotage. Everything looks all right. No, wait a minute. Someone sawed the lightning rod apart at the base so that it's no longer grounded. and the storm's breaking. Suddenly, lightning stabs from the sky toward the big building's altered lightning rod. There's only one way to save the courthouse. But if the boy of steel is faster than lightning and his invulnerable body acts as a shield against the deadly bolt, crap, made it just in time. I'll be able to repair the tampered rod before lightning strikes again. Presently, when the storm lets up, you saved three of our buildings from the saboteur, Superboy, but this can go on forever. How can we put a final stop to it? There's only one way to do that, Mayor, and that's by keeping constantly on the lookout until we nab our saboteur in the act. Right now, I'm going to check the rest of Smallville's public buildings. Later, as Superboy makes his rounds, why, there's Lana sneaking into the public library. What in the world is she up to now? And inside, when the boy of steel confronts Lana, I'm going to hide in here and wait for the saboteur. He's bound to turn up soon. Then I'll see who he is. But Lana, that's ridiculous. Suppose he's planning to blow up the building or set fire to it. You'll be trapped. Just then, hold it. My super hearing detects footsteps in the big drain that runs beneath the library. It must be the saboteur. Instantly, that drain empties into the river. He came in that way and will have to go back out the same way. Wait here, Lana. I'll nab him red-handed. Reaching the great drain, Superboy at last confronts the saboteur. Ezra Keener, the real estate operator? What? Superboy? But all right, so you caught me. But if you take one more step, Superboy, I'll blast the library to smithereens. You see, I've just planted a load of dynamite at the far end of the drain. And Lana is there in the library. Must keep talking, distract his attention. Why are you doing this, Keener? What possible reason can you have for destroying public buildings? Don't you see? By destroying these buildings, I also destroy the property records they hold. That way, I can lay claim to every inch of land in Smallville. I put up that man who hates Smallville threat to throw the blame on some ex-convict. Now you'll either promise never to expose me or I'll destroy the library. My X-ray vision is melting those trail wires apart. Abruptly, the boy of steel, lunges and, okay, Superboy, I warned you, the detonator doesn't work. Right, Keener. The next sabotage you'll be planning is how to destroy a prison. And so presently, with Ezra Keener safely in jail, John Garris, Smallville owes you an apology. We now realize the mistake we made. I guess most of my thanks go to Superboy, who cleared up the plot, and to Miss Lana for her faith in me. And Superboy, I too want to thank you for saving my life. May I shake your hand? Oh, sure, Lana. But as the two hands clasp, what's this? Ha! I stamped that big S with indelible ink. When you return to your everyday disguise, that mark will reveal you once and for all. Gosh, she's really trapped me this time. When I show up at home as Clark Kent, she'll look at my hand and my secret will be out. Of course, I can remove that S with a strong acid, but wait, I've got a better idea. I'll not only be able to protect my identity, but I'll also have a little fun with Lana. At super speed, the boy of tomorrow summons together all the youth of Smallville. Fellows, I'm starting a club, the Superboy Club, dedicated to helping others. How many of you want to join? Gee, Superboy, we'd all join a club like that. You bet Smallville needs a good old boys club. Good, this S stamp will be our club identification until we get real badges. And this isn't just a gag. I mean to make this into a permanent club for any boy who wants to better the community. Later, Clark Kent returns home. Oh, you are Superboy. There's an S on your hand. What do you mean, Lana? This mark is just a stamp of membership in a new boys club which Superboy can just form. See, all the boys have that S mark. Oh, that Superboy, he's tricked me again. Well, I'm not through yet. I'll find out Superboy's identity if it's the last thing I do. And she's liable to if she goes on living at our house. If only her parents would return from their hunting trip. Say, that's an idea. Acting on that idea, Superboy instantly flashes across the ocean at meteoric speed. The Langs will return as soon as they've collected all their animals, so why can't I help them speed things up a bit? Moments later, in the dense African jungles, get along, fellows. You'll find much safer in the zoos where you're headed. And a super animal drive soon yields super results. I can't understand it. They ran right into those cages without the slightest effort on our part. This certainly shortened our trip. We can start back to Smallville immediately. That's all I want to know. Lana will be out of my hair for good. But days later, when the Langs return home, yes, we did so well. We've been given many more assignments. We'll be making lots more exploring trips. Goody, that means I can stay with the Kents often. Oh, what have I done to deserve this? More Superboy stories in Adventure Comics, now on sale. The end. All right, well, let's continue to kind of take a look at some of the other pages of this book. You can see it Lear's double bubble gum right there. That's the gross gum that they put in baseball cards and stuff. That's the same stuff. Guess it's just I wouldn't want to chew that stuff. It's kind of toxic, I'm sure. We got Danger Trail ad here. We got our next Superboy story. I do want to kind of hasten to the last Superboy story here. I'm not going to read this. But the last Superboy story here, which is, I believe it's called, here it is, Superboy meets Century Man. This here is penciled by Kurt Swan. Now, Kurt Swan, this is kind of as he's getting going in his career. He's doing a lot of different books. He's working on books like Action Comics, Detective Comics, World's Finest. He gets his first start on Superboy on issue number 5, makes another sort of contribution on issue 8, I believe, and then kind of starts, more consistently working on Superboy starting from this issue on. So you see a lot more of Kurt Swan's imprint on this title, as well as a lot of the titles on DC, actually. So they have this sort of circulating group of artists and creators, but it really went from John Cicala, who started working on the books, and in fact, if you look at the previous artwork here, a lot of it is Cicala's work. And of course, Al Plastino is the cover artist on this brilliant cover here, classic, legendary cover here. And and Kurt Swan is, so it just is a really special issue for me. It's again, big issue in the sense that we get our first look at Lana Lang, and what a fun story that was, with sort of all the traits of Lana and Lois in terms of them trying to always being a point of trying to figure out Clark's real identity, right? Like Superman's real identity, and them suspecting Clark, but never really being able to prove it, and Superman or Superboy finding fun ways to, kind of get around it, or teach Lois or Lana a lesson. And so it's it's just one of those fun relationships, and obviously from the beginning, Superboy is vexed by Lana's presence, and it's they're not really. Um, let's just say it's not a romantic one at this point. um, all right, well, that is Superboy number 10. And what's interesting about Lana Lang is over the years, um, I think her because she's kind of remained um, again they compartmentalized Lana as sort of the Lois Lane of Superboy's younger days, right? So you had Lois Lane present in his adult life, and you had Lana Lang present in his youth. Um, and so they obviously share a lot of kind of similarities, but at the same time, you do see the differences as well. You know, Lois is city girl, and Lana is the girl next door from the small town, right? And that that's a unique dynamic. And throughout comic books, um, they eventually come to know one another, right? Lana and Lois end up being sort of rivals for Superman's affections, as well as in some instances, Superboy's affections, right? Because Lois Lane pops up in Superboy here and there uh, in kind of weird time swap type stories, right? So uh, they are established as Superboy and Superman's loves, and then they also are established later as kind of like rivals for Superman's, especially on the Lois Lane title. I think you see Lana pop up a lot as um, the the old flame, right? The girlfriend from his youth, Clark's first love, and the one Lois always has to kind of be careful of because there's still obviously, fond memories, fond feelings there. And yeah, it's just a good kind of rivalry and juxtaposition of um, two female characters that are a big part of Clark's um, life as kind of the romantic interest. And fast forward to modern times, and when John Byrne was reestablishing the character, he made it a point to put Lana front and center as a big part of Superman's, or I should say, Clark Kent's growth and development. So she's kind of presented as, again, the girl next door, Clark's first love, and they had a really good relationship. And again, in that initial origin story, the modern origin story of Volume 2, as we get into Volume 2, Lana is one of the few, because this was never established in the older versions of Lana. Superboy could never trust her with the secret, could never reveal himself to her. In the modern version, Clark makes the very intentional uh, makes a very, very intentional decision to reveal himself to her because he trusts her with the secret and that she would protect the secret. He also lets her know, like, hey, I love you, I care about you deeply, but I have a higher calling, so I can choose here to stay here with you in Smallville and make a life here with you, or I could pursue a higher purpose, um, you know, trying to do good in this world, try to protect people, try to, protect the earth. And given the weight of understanding, this is Superman, and even though I love him, I can't selfishly take him away from a higher calling, a higher mission. And so Lana makes that sacrifice of letting him go to pursue, again, the higher calling and really become Superman. And that's a pretty big shows a lot of depth in the character of Lana. So here you are in love with Superman, but at the same time you realize he trusts you. You're a big part of his life. You don't want to do anything to, again, you don't want to put your own selfish needs ahead of the world, right? Because the world needs Superman. And that's a great thing about why I personally like Lana, and why I think she needs to be explored further, because she's Superman's first love, right? And we all have, I think, fond memories of our first love. There's something compelling about our first love. Usually it's whether it's requited or not. Your first love is somebody you hold very special and dear. And I think that's kind of what's being portrayed here. Lana Lang is sort of that figure in all our lives. The girl who got away, the girl who stole our heart when we were very young, and the girl who we grew up with. So somebody who we grew up with, right? This resonates, I think, through for most of us who went to high school, maybe in a small town or in a community, right? There's always those special people in our lives that were probably we were more connected to than other people. I also want to focus on Lana in the Smallville series. Now, Smallville, when it got its start from season 1, it really just took off as a series. And part of its popularity, at least for me personally, because I watched season 1 into season 2, first off, it was great writing. It was Jeff Loeb producing and writing a lot of the episodes. So they had a very thoughtful, very knowledgeable approach to the character and the comic book history and all that. And then they presented this very compelling story of Smallville with Lex Luthor, Lionel Luthor, Lex's dad, and the Kents, of course. Superman coming to, his origin story, but also how, they could kind of adopt the modern history of Lana, in the sense that Lana loses her parents and she becomes kind of an orphan later in life. And Smallville kind of presents that, like, that she was killed by the meteor shower that brought Clark, and from the destruction of Krypton, and brought Clark. Her parents were killed in that accident, and she grew up orphaned. So she's, living with her, like, aunt. Very, very true to the modern comic, history. And so she's kind of presented as this young woman who had to kind of navigate her trauma of losing her parents, but is this just very, good soul. She's a girl next door. She's beautiful. She's pure at heart. She speaks her heart, her mind, and Kristen Kripp plays her absolutely beautifully to a T. Now, they didn't give her the auburn hair, the red hair, or like, I know there were some issues with the actual physical representation of Lana Lang. Lana Lang is obviously famously a redhead in the comics, but that kind of it wasn't such a big deal because again, Kristen Crook played her so beautifully, and the relationship between her and Tom Welling was just very electric, and they had good chemistry. And it was again a very compelling series that just grew in popularity and continued to this day has a big following. I'm like there's so many Smallville fans that you talk to who grew up watching the series. I was a full adult when that thing came on. I was still a big fan because again I'm a Superman fan. But imagine if you're just kind of like a teenager, just and a nerd, kind of getting into like those kinds of teen dramas. That was just a fun series to watch, and yeah, it's got so much back backstory to it now too, with all the sort of the off-air um, off-air controversies surrounding the cast and whatnot. So yeah, a full circle. I think I hope to see Lana Lang in the new Superman series. I'm hoping, you know, I know we didn't see her in the first movie, but there's a lot of opportunities with Ma and Pa Ken, I'm sure, you know, being a big part of the next movie as well. They'll have opportunities to introduce Lana. And I just hope they do a really, thoughtful um, presentation of her, make her sort of give her a bigger role, maybe as part of Clark's past, and maybe introduce a little bit of that, that rivalry between Lois and Lana. That would be just a very cute, fun thing to see on screen, right? Kind of reminiscent of the comic books and all that. So, yeah, this was just a fun. I do want to verify the artist for Superboy 10 before we get going here, just so you know who. We read a very fun story here, Superboy 10, the first appearance of Lana Lang, and the artist. I'm wanting to say it's John Cicala, but it may be. Yeah, it's John Cicala, and the writer of that famous story is, of course, the legendary Bill Finger, the writer of so many great DC books. So the inker was Ed Dobroka, the editor Jack Schiff, and the girl in Superboy's life, again, featured as the first appearance of Lana Lang in Superboy 10. So there you go. Hey, Ron, what's up? Yeah, Smallville, I would recommend Smallville, highly recommend. But it does kind of reach a point where, some of the core cast members get written off the show, and it really does transition into Clark's like adult professional life, um, and his sort of burgeoning romance and love story with Lois. So it does kind of transition into more of a Lois and Clark kind of romantic comedy slash, superhero action type series, which isn't bad. It's fine, but I think if you're watching the first couple of seasons, it does shift quite dramatically to and takes on a different persona moving forward. And so, yeah, um, I would say the first 5, 6 seasons, it's really, really good. And then, they start, um, again, when Kristen Crook kind of left the show. I think she leaves the show in season 7, and then Lex Luthor leaves the show as well. Um, they I think they kill him off in some weird fashion. It just at that point it just was kind of a different series, and it took on a different identity, and so I stopped watching at that point. By that point, but yeah, up until like I won't say season 7, it's just some of the best superhero based television you'll ever. In fact, I think it was the first WB superhero kind of series based on sort of like that demographic, right? That teen to youth demographic. You had like Green Arrow emerge after that. You had um, Flash, um, like the Teen Titans, I think was another series that came out from that. So there was a lot of sort of subsequent um, spin-offs from the original Superman series. And I think they continue to I know they did another revamp of Superman and Lois, like them having kids and them navigating like family life and all that. I saw a couple episodes of that and I was just kind of not into it because I just felt like that was catered to a newer generation, right? Um, I tend not to want to see Superman or want to think about Superman post marriage, post kids. Um, I like to remember my Superman as the single guy, with the two love interests and all that. That's uh, what was historically for me the character for so long. So when I see the modern iterations of him having his like family and adopted kids, and everybody's like this big extended family from Krypton and all that, it just it doesn't speak to my memory or what I feel like the character should be. But it is what it is. It's all part of the character's evolution, and it's fine. I just tend to want to focus on these older stories for me personally, and that includes, of course, the great series Smallville. Hey, what's up, fanboy? Thanks, man. I got the new reader because I wanted to make it. And so just let me know. I'm just going to present the panels again. Let me know if that's easier to see and follow along. Kind of want to from here on out. I definitely want to scroll my mouse as well. So moving forward, just know I'll try to remember to like keep the scroll kind of where I am with the word bubbles here, so you guys can follow along as I'm going through and reading. So hopefully that's a good guide to what panel we're on, and the story and all that. And I'll try to make the voices as distinct as possible, so you're getting the differences of or the transitions from one character to another. But it's a work in progress, and I do need to work on my voice characterizations. I'm not a voice actor, but I'll try to do the Lana voice consistently. I thought about giving Lana like a kind of a Midwestern twang. Look, Clark, the Smallville Museum is on fire. Is that too Southern? I don't know. I just want to differentiate her from my Lois voice at some point, because I know those readings will probably be coming. We had that reading yesterday, and I just realized I didn't make enough of a differentiation between Lana and Lois. So I need to find my cadence for both characters moving forward. I watched most of Supergirl series. I thought it was pretty. Yeah, the Supergirl series was good. Um, it was dealt with a lot of sort of women's issues, and they had Callista Lockhart, who's I'm a big fan of, from Ally McBeal. They had her on there. But yeah, the Supergirl, the actress they got to play Supergirl, she was very attractive and played the character very well. Um, you know, this upcoming Supergirl movie, I get why she was cast, um, because I know what they're trying to do with the character. They're trying to present a different kind of view of the character than what we're accustomed to, and I think it's more of the modern influences on the character versus sort of, I grew up watching that Helen Slater Supergirl movie, and she's Supergirl's always been presented as this, like, you know um, sort of um, the ideal girl, right? She's kind of just the sweetheart. Um, she's got a heart of gold. She's strong and powerful, and just always does the right thing. She's always selfless. She's kind of like, just, but I know the modern version of her has her just really messed up, and um, I'm just kind of, it's a wait and see for me, to be honest. I might not like the new Supergirl. I do know it's kind of like, um, she's messed up, but she finds her way kind of story, right? It's going to be one of those, like, that you're going to present her as somebody who's just had her life kind of ripped apart, and so she's trying to cope, trying to, heal. And but then, yeah, at the end, she's going to make the decision, hey, you know what, I need to protect these people. I need to be a hero. And when she makes that crossover, it's going to um, heal her and give her a path forward. So I do like that arc being presented. I just, when they initially announced Millie Alcock as Supergirl, I kind of was like, oh, I don't know, I don't see her as Supergirl, but at the same time, I don't want to be too judgmental until I see her as the character. So maybe she'll be a great Supergirl. But for me, like, her physique, her looks, everything about her just is not Kara for me. I don't know if any of you feel that way, but I had my reservations when they announced her. So yeah, let's hope she does. She is a great actress. I did see her in House of Dragon and all that. So I'm not taking anything away from her in terms of her ability to play a character like Supergirl. But I'm just saying the casting for me, she's not my, I the TV casting is much better in that sense, right? That's sort of more my, along the lines of the casting I would go with. But again, I don't want to be too judgmental. Don't want to place too much emphasis on the look of the casting. Um, I do want to have a chance to let the character develop, and maybe again, see if the character's true to um, the comic book roots and all that. So we'll see. I think I just want to be. I don't want to take any expectations into it. I also want to give her the benefit of the doubt, Gunn, and her the benefit of the doubt that she's the right person to play Supergirl. I just have my concerns, because if I hate the movie, you'll know why. All right. Well, I do want to just kind of keep this not so much of a, I reserved the Friday kind of weekly check-in, the Otaku Weekly, for addressing kind of news and things going on, and have it be more kind of interactive. I do want to keep the comic book readings. Obviously, I want to address everything being said here and give you guys ample opportunity to give your thoughts on the book. And the character, obviously, we covered a big first appearance character here with Lana. In fact, let's go back to the first time we see her in comic books. Look at that little panel there. She's looking she's looking I love that they put her in a green dress. Like she's harassing, inquisitive, pretty, right? She's pretty, inquisitive, harassing, and she ultimately is kind of like the fact they put her on in green. She's obviously full of life, full of you know energy. Green always is a good thing, except to Superboy. Green is kryptonite, so she maybe she's his kryptonite. And the funny thing about this early, I think by this point we do get introduced to kryptonite. Pretty sure kryptonite has been introduced here as something fatal to Superman and Superboy, but we don't get the subsequent versions yet. So it's just, I think by this point we have kryptonite established as something that weakens Superman's power. So I don't know if this putting her in the green dresses was intentional or not, but again, that's our first look at Lana Lang. All right, well, if you're watching this on the rewind, let me know what you thought of this. First off, just give me your feedback on whether the read along is kind of smoother this time. I think this format is a little better. I can just kind of turn the page and continue on with the story. You're not having those like long pauses or anything. And hopefully you can see and follow along. I'll try to use my mouse. If you can see the mouse here moving and follow that, I'll try to just move it along as I'm reading as sort of where we are in the story. So, you can, even if you lose your place in the video, you can instantly be redirected as to where we are in terms of the position. So, all right, Ron, fanboy, thanks for joining. And we'll probably do if we have time tomorrow, Christmas Eve. And I do have a special like Christmas comic that I want to probably cover with you guys. So hopefully we have bandwidth for that to read. If not, I have a Merry Christmas, guys. But we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.